I know it's morning for most of you in the West subgroup region. So this is mostly covering the Americas, Africa, Europe, and the Middle East, but anyone is welcome to join either sub-working group. I'd like to welcome you to the second session, the second meetings of the sub-working groups on the Global Coalition on Synthetic Drugs. Beginning this month in November through February, we're going to be looking at specific initiatives that are available to us through our international organization partners primarily. We will also be exploring new activities or policies that we can initiate. In January and February, we'll have a full menu of activities available for review, and we will invite you to express your interest to the international organizations that are managing these respective initiatives. Other administrative announcements. Please update your screen name so it lists your name, organization, and country if you get a chance. We've noticed that there's a lot of variation and want to try to be consistent. Next, the coalition website will be launched soon. We are getting sort of final approvals to launch it formally, and that is where we are going to be conducting a lot of our business moving forward in between meetings. Also want to thank you for your feedback regarding the number of calendar invites. We recognize that we have been sending many calendar invites to participants. So for future meetings, we are just going to send one calendar invite for the entire 4-hour block of meetings that we're having, for example, today, and then for the 3-hour block for public health. So while we will send you the entire 4-hour block of meetings, please know that they run consecutively. So if you are 1.2, you would join the second hour. If it's 2.2, the 4th hour, and so forth and so on. We're also seeking to increase the coalition participation to include stakeholders from all audiences that relate to drug issues. For example, chemists, policymakers, justice system representatives. So please continue to share the coalition registration links with your colleagues so that we can make sure that all stakeholders from your countries have a seat at the table. I'm also going to ask Sarah from INL to paste the agenda for today's meeting in the chat, so you'll be able to see that content. And so now that's it for me. I would like to turn it over to the co-chairs for today's meeting for sub-working group 1.2. to call on presenters, share thoughts, and moderate the discussion. And that would be from the US, George Pasiaskos, and from Poland, Michael Aleksandrowicz. Over to you, gentlemen, for your work today. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
George Pasiaskos, US Customs and Border Protection, sitting in New York City. Co-chair 1, I'll hand it to co-chair 2.
Good afternoon, colleagues. Major Michał Aleksandrowicz, the head of the organized drug crime department of the Polish Police Central Bureau of Investigation.
All right. I guess we'll start right in. I'll introduce Conor Crean from the he's a scientific affairs officer from the Laboratory Scientific Service. It's a really long title, so I'll let him introduce himself. Go ahead, Conor.
Thank you, George. Let me just share my screen. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Conor Crean. I'll introduce myself. I'm a scientific affairs officer within the Laboratory and Scientific Services of the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime. I thought I would talk a little bit this afternoon about some of the tools and services we have related to the safe handling, investigation and identification of synthetic drugs for primarily frontline officers. So this is connecting non-forensically trained personnel with the tools and resources available for them for the preliminary identification of drugs, and also connecting them with forensic laboratories in their countries. So I'll start off with the first tool which we have for frontline officers, which is the UNOC drug and precursor testing kits. So these are simple color-based tests that can be used by law enforcement officers to preliminarily identify potentially groups of substances or substances themselves. Results generally do need confirmation from laboratories for use in law enforcement purposes. We produce these within a laboratory in Vienna. We make about 1,000 of them each year, and we send them out to frontline officers all around the world We run it on a cost recovery basis. So we charge $180 for these kits, which is just used for their production, and we provide the recipients with a list of all of the chemicals so that they can replenish these with their own national sources. So this makes it a more cost-effective tool for frontline officers to use. Each test can be used for about 200 tests, or each test kit carries enough for 200 tests. So associated with this drug and precursor testing kits, we have computer-based training, and we also have training courses that we provide, as you can see in these images, in the field and also in the laboratory in Vienna. When it comes to the more advanced presumptive identification, we have a range of different handheld devices that use different types of technology that we actually do tenders with certain companies. We determine what type of substances we would expect our clients to be hopeful to be able to preliminarily detect, and we receive instruments from manufacturers, and we test them with the United Nations reference standards collection that we have to be sure that the devices can identify the substances that we want. And what we do is we work with global programs within UNODC, and we also with national projects throughout the world to work with customs officers, border personnel, people who work in airports, people who work in maritime crimes at the sea. And we bring those personnel to the laboratory in Vienna, or we actually go and do this in the field, and we teach them how to use the drug and precursor testing kits and the handheld devices. So the idea is that we strengthen their capacity, but also give them awareness of how powerful these tools are, but also what they cannot be used for. So the strengths of the devices, but also some limitations. And most of the times we try and connect somebody from one of the local forensic laboratories that we work with as part of the network of laboratories that UNODC works with, and we connect these law enforcement officers to the forensic personnel. It wouldn't be a training course if it didn't come with an associated guideline. So we have a UNODC guideline on the use of these equipment. So this is available in multiple languages. And we do find that this is a very useful training for frontline officers. Connected to that, we have a suite of different tools, services, and manuals and training courses in the area of safe handling and disposal of chemicals. So we have a manual on safe handling and disposal of chemicals used in illicit manufacture of drugs, an illustrated guide for the disposal of these chemicals used in illicit manufacture, also in remote locations. So this has a lot of resources on how people would need to set up the tools and locations to dispose of chemicals if they're in remote environments. And more recently, we have a guideline for the safe handling of synthetic opioids for law enforcement and customs officers. And we did this in the last few years as a result of the opioid crisis that we've seen in a number of countries, and also the need for officers to be able to carry out their work in a safe manner. We will add to this suite of products, currently providing a manual on the dismantling of clandestine laboratories. So this is also going to form part of this suite of manuals and guidelines and associated training courses. Just going into the safe handling guideline a little bit, it is a very visual tool that shows frontline officers how to appropriately use and remove, decontaminate, and dispose of essential elements of personal protective equipment that they need to be aware of when they're investigating cases of synthetic drug manufacture. We do have training courses in the safe handling that we carry out in the laboratory here in Vienna, but also in the field, and as you can see, on location, because we've just come back from doing some training in Latin America. And the idea here is that we go to the location where the officers work, and we do scenario-based training using the personal protective equipment kits to do inspections of containers, to do inspection of automobiles under the conditions under which these frontline officers work. We simulate the inspection of cases in which synthetic drugs might be identified in their environment. So in addition to this, we have personal protective equipment kits that we provide to the trainees. And we find that this is a resource that is continuing to grow in the last number of years. And I see that as one of the goals of this working group is to share these resources that we have available to you as participants, and to increase awareness about them, and to increase then potentially access to being able to make full use of these training courses, guidelines, tools, and also hear from you about the needs that you have. And if there are elements of these that we need to continually evolve and change, we will do so. This is the main part of the work that we do. And with that, I would like to thank you for your attention. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Conor. We have another presentation on the Calabri project from, please forgive me if I pronounce your first name wrong, Frolian Blanco.
Estupendo. Buenos días, buenas tardes. Voy a compartir mi pantalla.
Good evening, good afternoon, good morning. I will share my screen.
First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Frolian Blanco, and I'm the technical expert and regional coordinator with the World Customs Organization in the synthetic drugs detection project. So, perfect. Well, and I'm working specifically in the component 1 related to general aviation, or the improvement of controls on general aviation to avoid the illicit trafficking of synthetic drugs using this means of transport. And this is what we are going to talk about a little bit. If it is working. Okay, perfect. I used to say that organized criminal groups are working like any other legal international business, and they are always looking for new products, more profitable products, more demanded products, more luxury products. And they are also looking for new markets where to sell these products. At the same time, they are trying to improve the logistics, looking for faster and safer means of transport in order to be able to deliver their merchandise, the products on time and in perfect conditions. And everything with the aim of getting highest profits, always the same. And it is the same like, as I told you, the legal business. So that is what it's happening nowadays. There is a real clear trend with the synthetic drugs. Every day are more and more synthetic drugs in the market, specifically methamphetamine, but also fentanyl, one of the most dangerous drugs. When it comes to new markets, there could be black markets or markets for synthetic drugs everywhere, internally in each country. But it's clear that it's a big trend in United States of America, in USA. They are demanding a lot these new drugs. And when we talk about logistics, they are criminals. Criminal groups are also using a lot, and every day more and more, general aviation for what I said, for getting highest profits. And why they are using this means of transport? Because of different things. First of all, because it's a very flexible and fast mode of transportation. That means that you can prepare your own flight plan, and you can get the approval in some minutes, in 15 minutes, 30 minutes, maximum 1 hour. And thanks to that, you can go almost everywhere and transport people, merchandise, whatever. Even you can modify your flight plan when you are in flight. It's also very difficult to monitor because, because some things, because there are several different agencies involved in controlling this, because there is a weak regulation in several countries. specifically for controlling all the aspects around the means of transport. In part because they are not only using big airports, but also small aerodromes, airfields, and small airstrips spread it all over the country, in all the territory, in several locations very close to border areas. Thanks to that, it's very susceptible to criminal infiltration. Criminals are corrupting pilots, crews, handling personnel, everybody. Even they are able to provide training for piloting these small aircrafts to their own members. It's quite easy. And according to Europol statistics, the most common criminal use for this means of transport is the transporting of illicit drugs. And we need to talk also about the vulnerabilities of general aviation, and among them we can find a lack of awareness. The different law enforcement agencies with mandates in controlling this means of transport are not aware about the criminal use of these small aircrafts. Even the governments are not aware about what is happening related to criminality with it. There is a lack of effective controls because of several reasons, because of a lack of proper regulation, because of a lack of specific law enforcement groups dedicated to carry out the controls, because of a lack of expertise, because of a lot of factors. And as a consequence, there's a lack of information, even for legal activities. We have detected that in several countries, they even don't know the number of aerodromes they have, the number of aircrafts, the number of pilot licenses, and so on. And there is also a lack of intelligence about the criminal use of the means of transport, about the trends, the modus operandi, and everything. And there is also another important thing to take into account, is the intermodality of means of transport. That refers to the exchange between different means of transport that the criminals are doing for transporting the drugs or any kind of other illicit trafficking. I mean, they are changing from speedboats to small aircrafts, and then to trucks or buses, or even people, couriers, or whatever. So in that way, this specific means of transport is a complement for the criminals to complete the whole trip. And this is what we can see in the reality. Here you have a couple of real cases, if it wants to run. Well, one is this, the other one is this, in which, well, in this case, the Mexican army has stopped a couple of small aircrafts transporting not only cocaine, but also heroin, methamphetamine, several fentanyl pills. And in the second case, even huge amounts of money, of cash, maybe for paying the logistic chain, or for transporting the profits. And in this other news, you can see what we were talking about, the intermodality of a means of transport. In this case, they were referring the route from Mexico to United States, changing from vehicles to small aircrafts to even to parcels. In the SDTP, in this project, we have a specific part for dealing with the trafficking of synthetic drugs in parcels. And finally, I have to say that the WCO, the World Customs Organization, has a great experience in improving the control of this means of transport, thanks to the Colibri project. Colibri project was launched in 2019, and it's currently in its second phase, and it's being delivered in 9 countries in South America and 10 countries in Western and Central Africa, and with a great success. And that is all from my side. we have on board a technical expert with Colibri, Mr. Anderson Leme. I don't know if it's online. He's online or not?
Yes, Troy, I'm here.
Ah, perfect. So maybe you can explain to everybody more in detail the real impact of the Colibri project in improving the control of general aviation, or what is your experience about that?
Okay, Fernand, thank you very much. Good morning or good afternoon for our folks. Thanks for inviting Colibri project for this meeting. I just would like to exchange the experience that we have here in Brazil with the Colibri project. Let me try to share my screen. Just tell me if it's working. I think
we can see your
working.
screen, yes.
All right. So what we did in this Colibri operation here in Brazil, not only in Brazil, but in South America. First of all, I would like to write the question of join all the law enforcement agencies that we have here. In our case, we started with our intelligence agency, that is ABIN, that support us with all the intelligence regarding the criminal syndicates. Also investigations regarding the documents of flights. Our civil aviation agency that give us parameters for targeting those small planes. Customs, we are at the airports and checking the planes physically. Also regarding the federal police and our Brazilian Air Force. So in the Colibri operation, Customs was at the airports. In many airports in Brazil are the main airports that can receive and deliver the planes, the small planes and jet planes departing and arriving from Brazil, especially to Europe and North America. We also have federal police in some airports, but mainly in the border, okay, controlling the border. Especially the Air Force, Brazilian Air Force, with some especially planes that we call the Echo 99. There are radars, okay, radars from the top to the bottom. They were delivered in the border during the Colibri operation, and also our helicopters from Customs and from police. And what's happened? Our radars also in the borders, we detected a small plane that was crossing the border from Paraguay, okay, and it was unidentified without any flight rules, and then crossing the border here in the Midwest of Brazil, and then heading the state of São Paulo, okay. So we departed our Air Force's planes just to escort that one. And in the region, they give the order of landing, and it was unresponsive. And finally, the plane just lay down in a area, okay, in a plantation, and then we found it with 568 kilograms of cocaine. So it was a successful operation regarding the Colibri project, especially that make us just open our eyes for the small planes and start to check everything, and mostly the cooperation between our forces, all our law enforcement forces, not only here in Brazil, but in all South America. And the project just lead us to exchange information between all forces in different countries regarding this route of small planes. So especially here in Brazil, we deliver the cocaine abroad to all over the world, but we also receive a lot of synthetic drugs, and this is our main scope right now. Okay, trying to control those small jets and private jets arriving, especially from Europe here to Brazil, and also from the US. But why not? They also can bring the synthetic drugs to our country, and maybe the partly to other new markets too. So just to share our experience. Thank you very much, Freud.